Subcommittee will come to order. Pursuant to notice, the subcommittee meets this morning to mark up H.R. 1951, the Sean and David Goldman International Child Abduction Prevention and Return Act of 2013, H.R. 1897, the Vietnam Human Rights Act of 2013, and H.Res. 131 concerning the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the need for international efforts toward long-term peace, stability, and observance of human rights. As our members are aware, these measures enjoy strong bipartisan support, and there are competing hearings and other events taking place this morning. Thus, as our members were informed earlier this week, it is the intent of the Chair to consider these measures en bloc, including the substitute amendment sent to you on Monday, offered by my good friend and colleague, Ms. Bass, and an amendment by Mr. Meadows sent to you on Tuesday. All members have copies of these documents before them, and then after we have concluded our expedited consideration, I will be glad to recognize any member, including myself and the ranking member, for any statements on the issues. All members are given leave to insert written remarks into the record should they choose to do so. Seeing that we have a reporting quorum present, without objection, the following measures are considered as read and will be considered en bloc. H.R. 1951, the Sean and David Goldman International Child Abduction Prevention and Return Act of 2013. The Meadows Amendment, number 4 to H.R. 1951, sent to members' offices on Tuesday. H.R. 1897, the Vietnam Human Rights Act of 2013. H.Res. 131, concerning the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the need for international efforts towards long-term stability, peace, and observance of human rights. And the Bass Amendment, number 11, to H.Res. 131, sent to your offices on Monday. The Chair moves that the en bloc items be adopted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. In the opinion of the chairs, and the items considered en bloc are adopted. Without objection, the measures as amended are reported favorably to the full committee. The staff is directed to make technical and conforming changes. I would note that now that we have completed our formal consideration of those measures, I will recognize members for remarks, and I recognize myself first on behalf of the first bill that was just passed on to the full committee. It was David Goldman's unrelenting effort to bring his son Sean home from Brazil that first alerted me to the epidemic of international parental child abduction in this country. According to the U.S. Department of State, between the years 2008 and 2012, bereaved, left-behind parents like David Goldman reported over 4,800 abduction cases involving more than 7,000 children. I had the privilege of joining David Goldman in his fight to return Sean and experienced firsthand the maddening obstacles encountered by left-behind parents, even in countries that have signed the Hague Convention on International Child Abductions, foreign courts, endless appeals to run out the clock, exploitation of the safeguards in the Convention, and prejudice against foreigners. The damage to the child and the left-behind parents is incalculable and too often lifelong. The children are at risk of serious emotional and psychological problems and may experience anxiety, eating problems, nightmares, mood swings, sleep disturbances, aggressive behavior, resentment, guilt, and fearfulness. Parental child abduction is child abuse. These victims are American citizens who need the help of their government when normal legal processes are unavailable or fail. Too many families have been waiting too long for the return of their children. Our current system, with its endless delays and lack of proper accountability, has failed far too many. It is time for the approach that backs our demands for adherence to international obligations with some penalties and makes clear to foes and friends alike that our children are our top priority. As stated in the legislation, it has several purposes. First, we want to protect children whose habitual residence is the U.S. from the harmful effects of abduction and to assist left-behind parents to have access to their abducted children in a safe and predictable manner wherever the child is located while an abduction case is pending. We want to provide left-behind parents, their advocates, and judges the information they need to enhance the resolution of abduction cases and access cases through established legal procedures, the tools for assessing the risk of abduction and denial of rights of access, and the practical means for overcoming obstacles to recovering an abducted child. We seek to provide the necessary training for officials of the U.S. Armed Forces and the Department of Defense to establish policies and provide services to parents serving in our military that address the unique circumstances of abductions and violations of rights of access that may occur with regard to military-dependent children. An additional purpose of the bill would be to establish measured, effective, and predictable actions to be undertaken by the President on behalf of abducted American children, and to promote an international consensus that it is in the interest of children to have any issues related to their care and custody determined in the country of their habitual residence. And finally, the bill would encourage the effective implementation of international mechanisms, particularly those established pursuant to the Hague Abduction Convention, to achieve reciprocity in the resolution of abductions and to protect children from the harmful effects of abduction. The Goldman Act gives the President important tools to motivate other countries to quickly respond to applicants for abducted child's return. For even one case that has been pending for over 6 weeks in a foreign country's judicial system, the President may choose to at least issue a private démarche or take more serious actions commensurate with the gravity of the case. If a country has 10 or more cases of children abducted from the U.S. pursuant to this legislation, and those cases are not being resolved in a timely manner, or the entity responsible for working with the United States U.S. Central Authority, the judiciary, or law enforcement, are persistently failing to fulfill their obligations, the President can take measured, effective, and predictable actions to aggressively advocate for our children's return. Actions range from denial of certain assistance to prohibiting the procurement of certain goods or services from the government, or the instrumentality response for the pattern of what we call non-cooperation. The President is required to request a consultation with any government concerned and report to Congress when contemplating serious actions. The President is also provided with certain waiver authorities that take into account the important national interests of the United States. However, the expectation is that the President will use all tools necessary to bring our children home in a timely manner, and that the President will have to explain the minority of cases where one of the 18 delineated tools or commensurate action cannot be used. I want to thank Mr. Meadows for his valuable amendment to the bill, which calls on the Government Accountability Office to report to Congress on Egypt's cooperation or facilitation of parental child abduction. Last week, the subcommittee heard compelling testimony of Mr. Colin Bauer, whose 2 boys were abducted to Egypt in 2009. Mr. Bauer indicated that Egypt has aided and abetted in the kidnapping and illegal holding of his sons, including by issuing false Egyptian passports for the 2 boys and by allowing them to exit the U.S. on Egyptian government-owned airline Egypt Air. It will be very helpful for members of Congress to receive an assessment from the GAO of the Egyptian government's involvement in this and the other cases of child abduction from the United States. I yield to my friend and colleague, Ms. Bass, for any comments you might have.